All right, looks like everything is coming up live. Trip streaming at the moment. Of course, I have my phone set over to the side for my Facebook profile, but we're on the tubes. We're on the Facebook fitness page. I thought I would get up and cover this topic. Give me just a moment to get started. As soon as we get people in, we'll get this party started. I'm going to make statements though that I think I'm at a point where I'm going to start doing current events. I'm having a lot of things happen in my life that are a little different. I'm kind of at a point where I don't really need to lay as low as I normally do. So again, I'm going to start covering real topics in the world. Plus we're at a point where I've tried to avoid anything non-fitness related. And quite frankly, people are like, they want my opinions on stuff, and I don't care about the fitness industry. So it's like, if I'm going to give opinions on something, I'm going to give opinions on things that matter. I'm not following up fitness on the tube. I don't care about these clowns. Most of these people can't coach their way out of a wet paper bag. They don't know anything about training other than goofball machines. I just don't care. I am, however, going to start delving into various events around the world. And if some of that stuff is relevant to some of it, I'll do it. But I think we need to start covering real topics of real interest that people actually care about. Okay. Thank you guys. Yeah, looking vascular. Appreciate it. Veins are on point. Had a really good workout today. You guys saw the vlog. We got a good bench. I hit 315 for 4 pause reps. Not bad for a 48-year-old dude. But good workout today. But yeah, so let's talk about the thing yesterday. I'm going to admit I was wrong. All right. I was wrong on something. There we go. We always need to admit when we're wrong. I said I thought there was an intermediate cartridge involved. Apparently it was 30-06 from an old bolt action Mauser. I thought it was going to be an intermediate cartridge based upon the horrific footage that I saw. I was wrong. However, it looks like the suspect has been apprehended, and it's a goofy, basically soy boy would be the best way. I hate to use that term because I'm not even anti-soy, but it's basically what we saw. Looks like the guy's possibly an extremist, wrote a bunch of Antifa type stuff on the cartridges. You know what I mean, dude? And so again, we're back over to a radicalized, I'm not even going to say, radicalized person. Not everyone who's on either political aisle is a radical or an extremist. They're not, guys. And we have to get over that. We have to quit treating everybody like they're an extremist, because it's not the case. They're not. And I'll get over to some of y'all's other stuff. Benny says, Coach, you see the IPF lifter got caught using trim? Nope, no idea. I haven't seen anything about it because I don't really follow fitness news. So no clue. I don't even know which IPF lifter. IPF lifters get popped all the time. But back over to the point, it's very much what we expected. So again, we're seeing pretty much a young extremist on the very, very far left. If some of his family members were saying the guy got really very politicalized. And I think that's the problem we deal with in this climate is political extremism. Because I'm not an extremist politically, personally. I have points I agree with both sides on. I'm obviously conservative leaning. As a pew guy, I'm very, very pro Second Amendment, but I don't fully ascribe to any specific ideology and say, I agree with everything down the road. No, because both sides get some stuff right. And both sides have some really stupid points, and I think a reasonable person can look at that. But this is another case of people getting pulled into these extremes, and everyone demonizes the other side so much that when you're calling everybody on the other side a racist, a Nazi, a communist, all these extremist terms that everyone uses, and you start dehumanizing everyone. This is the nonsense that happens. Okay. When we start dehumanizing our fellow people living in our own society, this is when you see this type of violence. Benny says, Coach, do you think following politics is bad for mental health due to stress? I stopped and I feel. I don't follow politics heavily, Benny. Of course, you and I've had some video calls over time. Like, I know Benny pretty well, done some consultations and things. I try to stay largely away from politics, and I try to stay away from it online. But my God, the stuff that's happening in the world right now, I almost feel like I have a big audience. I have over 100,000 people on the tubes. I have over 100,000 people on Facebook. Even my profile with some people watching. I mean, I have 10,000 followers on my profile, not even my page. You know, I'm going to start trying to be a voice of reason. I want to cover some of these topics and have some common damn sense, right? We've got to have some common sense out here with this stuff, you know, and I feel like we've lost that. We've lost that with both sides. You know, I mean, pretty hard on stuff on the right now. This is going to go harder on the left. But I mean, the right's got its problems too. You know, you guys know for me as a fitness person, I am extremely pro nutrition. RFK is just completely humped the pooch on this one. Like, the stupidity that he was spewing is completely not valuable to nutrition. Like, hey, had he said, hey, we need to ban refined sugars, I'd have been like, hell yeah, let's get on it. Let's get refined sugar out of the schools. Let's get the junk foods away from the kids, right? Get the soda out of school, get the candy out of the school. Man, I'd be 100% behind that. But he's over here worried about red dye and replacing seed oils with beef tallow, which is objectively worse by every measurable metric, like sheer insanity. You know, now had he been like, hey, let's get rid of the refined sugars, quit giving it to kids, man, I'd be on top of it. You know, I would give 100% support. I'd be making videos saying, yes, let's do this. Get everybody behind it, but it's not. It seems like the media feeds the extreme for the clicks they do. Adrian says, what's the difference between an intermediate cartridge and a full-size cartridge? Smaller, lighter. So intermediate cartridges would be more like 5.56 NATO, 7.62 by 39 Russian, stuff that you can carry lighter. You can carry more of them. Generally used in intermediate size, like carbine size, or slightly larger auto-loading rifles, right? So those would be examples. Whereas that was a 30-06. That is a full-size cartridge. Actually, was routinely used World War I and II. It was a sniper cartridge. It's one of the most common hunting cartridges in North America. Like, take down big game with it, right? Full-size cartridge. I didn't expect, based upon what I saw in the video, to be a full-size cartridge. I would have expected, without being graphic, I would have expected more. Just my thoughts. Let's go over Jay Johnson here. These guys are so soft. They got all the same look to them. A lot of them are going to have to go to the gym. They might have been less. That's what I'm thinking, right? I mean, how much of this is a testosterone deficiency? How much of what we're seeing is a testosterone deficiency? How many of these young men wouldn't have some of these viewpoints and they wouldn't be soft? Like, this guy looks soft. What if he had been eating a good diet and been lifting weights and been focused upon these things getting stronger? Would he have even been that person? Because, yeah, I agree. Like, this guy, he had what people will throw the term soy boy out there. I'm not a fan of that term. But that's the term that people use, all right? But I agree, yeah, less emotional. Men should be ruled by our logic. Not saying we're robots. I'm not saying men don't feel emotions and love and sadness and anger. We're emotional beings too. But as men, we should not be ruled by our emotions. We should be ruled by our logic, our reason, our common sense, right? Yeah. So this sort of mindset. David says, "Hello again, Coach. Great to see the FBI they've made an arrest. They have, and it looks like they got him. I mean, they'll know definitively when they pull all the prints." because he handled the rifle, the cartridges and everything. But I mean, it is typical, like what you would think of as the really soft soy boy type. Well, let's get some more comments going, guys. I'll answer your questions as we go here. I'm going to shut down the profile. That's enough for them. Again, I don't need to do an hour plus on the profile. I'll leave it on the Facebook page, though. That could always use it, the big page. But you know, the profile doesn't need as much. I only have 10,000 followers there. Right? So, Jason, thoughts on DC training in 2025? My thing with DC training, I would always say DC training was not intended for natties. Are you going to follow the accompanying cycling for pennies that Dante wrote when he put it out? Like DC training there's a lot of extended sets and stuff there. There's a lot of things in there that probably are not ideal with no drugs. It's like, we'll have plenty of time. No, he's not going to be in the open yard. Let's be realistic here, dude. That guy is not going to be out in Gen Pop. He's not going to be in the yard. Someone's going to get him. Like, be realistic here. Yeah, he's not going to be out in the yard lifting weights. And I have a feeling this is not going to be a bunch of appeals, right? This is think about whose administration this is. Okay, no, they're going to make an example of him, and so PA Sam, you said they have firing squad at Utah. It's not relevant. This is not going to fall under state. Okay, old PA Sam, this is not going to fall under state jurisdiction. So Utah laws are irrelevant. It wouldn't matter if it was a non-death penalty state. This is a political assassination with national and international interest, right? He's not going to be tried under Utah laws. It's going to go federal, and he's not going to get 10 years of appeals. Okay. My predictions, he's not going to be around in a year. Like, when you're dealing with federal level, like domestic terrorism, like at that degree, where it's going to they're probably going to pursue a death penalty to make an example of him. It's going to be under federal courts. No, he 1 to 2 years, he's gone. And it won't be in the state of Utah. I just seen a video of the killer, tons of people in the comments. Yeah, you don't know. You can't. And that's the problem I've been saying too. It doesn't matter how you feel about this person. This is an individual who was murdered for their political speech, their free speech. That is not how we handle things in a free society. Okay, that's not how we handle things. Yeah, if I disagree completely with someone, I find their political views offensive, and there are plenty that I find offensive, I would never in a million years, right? I would never in a million years get up and say, well, there's your diet. No, that's not how we handle political speech. And the other thing with people doing that, I mean, again, this shows how insane those people are in the comments. And that's the point I made. Everyone said, no, everyone's denouncing it. No, they aren't. I've seen pundits on MSNBC suggesting that he had it coming. Again, you are talking about someone who was murdered in front of his wife and children over political speech, which is protected speech. And I'm going to go out and say that anyone who supports that is evil. They're the problem. They're a bad person. Let's be clear on that. If you support someone being murdered out in public for protected political speech in front of their wife and two small children. Again, his little children saw the blood splatter. I don't care how you feel about the man or what he said. If you were someone who is endorsing a man's blood being splattered across a stage in front of his two small children because of his words, and you're okay with that, you are the evil person. You are the bad guy. Like, again, let's be clear on that. If you're out there and you are okay with that, you are the bad person. You're on the bad side. And it would be the same if someone on the other end of the aisle. I would say the same thing if someone on the far right was like, well, that lefty had it coming, and I'm happy that it happened right there in front of his children. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to look at him and go, you're a psychopath. I'm going to look at him and go, you're a psychopath. Yeah, that's not okay. And I think people on both sides politically should be able to step back and say that. And if they can't, they have been radicalized to a point of evil. David says, hopefully he'll face swift justice. Think about who is in charge. Think about the current administration, David. That guy gets the death penalty in less than 24 months. I'm almost certain of it. Like, I bet money on it. The other side brings Wilson to debates with their own logic and intellectual defeat. All right. Well, Kirk, I'm going to go to the issue of shootings. I'm very pro 2A personally, and I think everyone knows that. But this is a security issue at an event like that, because normally people like me, we're the ones who deal with stopping the active people because we all carry. Like, we all carry. Like, I carry. Like, just being frank, I carry everywhere I go. Everywhere I go. So, and if that happens, I'm prepared to do what I have to do to stop that person from hurting others. But yeah, there's crazy, and Card, I agree, there's crazy people on both sides. And I think extremist politics has pushed us in that direction to where, we've dehumanized each other. We've dehumanized each other. And this is a problem. The vanilla gorilla people have always been crazy, and with social media putting sensitive topics in your face all the time, I don't think people think he had it coming, but more like he's just expecting the crazies. No, there are people who have said he had it coming, vanilla. Have you not been reading? Is an 800 calorie deficit too much? I don't know. How fat are you? How quickly are you willing to lose muscle? Or are you trying to keep muscle? Are you trying to gain muscle? And how fat are you? This is a sliding scale, right? This is a sliding scale. So the real question is an 800 calorie deficit workable within my goals, or do I need more or less depending upon exactly where I'm at and what I'm trying to achieve? No question. And how are you going to pin down exactly an 800 deficit? Our calorie measurements are plus or minus 10%. What happens I'm not going to talk about that. No, I think that's a security issue too. David, I didn't really think he was on a rooftop. David, he was on a rooftop. That's a security issue. They should have secured those rooftops. The police and security. Nobody on the ground would have been able to stop that. That's a security issue. Guy was on a rooftop 200 to 250 yards away. That's the reason it hit neck instead of head. He was aiming for the head because he's not a proficient shooter who doesn't understand elevation. It went low because he has never practiced from an elevated position downward. This is someone who has only practiced and is only familiar with ballistics in a straight line on a flat field. So he probably had been practicing at a range to make the shot he's been practicing. But because he does not understand trajectory, he's not an experienced marksman. That's why he hit low. It was intended to be, somewhere else. So he hit the neck because it dropped below his point of aim because of the angle of the downward angle. Right. You've seen me put up sub-MOA targets and stuff back in the past when I had a PPU channel. So let's not pretend I'm not a sub-MOA shooter, that I can't make better hits than that at 500 yards. Just stop. I've already documented that on camera before. When is a 800 calorie deficit appropriate? Would be the scenario. I don't have them. Hey, Saul, you're asking me to break out a set of calculators and charts for you. That is a mathematical set of equations based upon your body fat goals, willingness to retain muscle tissue versus are you trying to recomposition? See what I mean? You're looking at a whole sliding scale of variables. 30, well, LPA also relative on the ballistic coefficient of the projectile, right? 30-06 is simply a specific cartridge. You don't know anything about, without knowing the specifics, you don't know the drop rate without knowing both the muzzle velocity and the ballistic coefficient of the projectile. So that's how we calculate that. We have a number called a ballistic coefficient. I've been using it for 15 years old. I'm very familiar with the term ballistic coefficient. But that is the number that we use. So that's what determines your drop rate. Again, then also compensating for angle of trajectory too. But no, so what you're looking at, so the drop rate is identical for every bullet. It drops at free fall speed. So it's how many fractions of a second it's in the air, which is determined by starting velocity and ballistic coefficient, which determines your drag, so that you know how quickly it slows down. So it tells you how aerodynamic it is. So the drop rate's identical for everything. It drops at free fall speed. They drop at the same rate as if you just dropped it right here in front of you towards the ground. So he secretly climbed on a roof from lack of security. Exactly. Bad security. Poor security in the buildings overlooking it. Fitness Skin says, I'm 6'2", 240 pounds. I think I'm 15% body fat maybe. My lifts are 270 close grip. It's not bad. For 2 reps, 180 overhead, curl. What, you curl 170? You row 300, hack squat 500. Okay. Debating on taking a low dose of TRT. That's not TRT. What do you mean debating a low dose of TRT? TRT means you go to your doctor and get a replacement dose in the therapeutic range. Do you mean you're thinking of taking a low dose of testosterone that you're buying separately and self-administering? That's not TRT. So I would say in place of that, that's a personal choice to make. Right? Yeah, low dose. I mean, that's a personal choice you have to make. I would say do lots and lots of research. Don't jump into that lightly. Sal Cunningham, that is what I was asking. What variables in place would best support an 800 calorie deficit? Sal, there's too many for me to name. You're asking me to sit down and break down charts because it's not one set. It would be, you're asking me to break out mathematical equations in the middle of the live stream. Do you understand? I mean, we could literally create 100 different scenarios based upon body weight, body fat, and so on. If they can pull off security exploits as a U.S. president, if they can do that with anyone on earth. But there wasn't they, Marcinio. I don't believe in a they. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, by the way. Just an FYI. Right? I am not a conspiracy theorist, so I don't believe in a they. 20 years old debating it for a boost. No, what do you mean a boost? If you're going to use gear, then use gear. A standing would cost too much for more security for campus events. Let's try the roof. Yeah, they could have gone and cleared them off, but still. But I get it. I get it. It's always about money. Jason, you think floor pressing is the best way to build a bench press faster? No. I think floor pressing can be good for people who stick very close to where you floor press, where your touch point is on the floor press relative to your leverages. I think it can be extremely good, particularly people if it's close to the chest, because it forces you to press from a dead stop near your sticking point while taking the leg drive out. It can be extremely useful. It can be extremely useful. But it's, again, going to be dependent upon where your stick point is. He camped the night before, went on early AM before camp, possibly. I don't think, but keep in mind, I don't think this was organized. I think it was a lone wolf. Do you think, I don't know if he had help. I'm guessing based on the situation, probably not. You know, what is bad about lifting overhead? I know you recently said you won't be, because I can't. So there's nothing bad about lifting overhead. It's that I have previous issues that have caused inflammation in the tendons, and I physically cannot reach the full range of motion. So I'm hoping that over time that inflammation eventually heals and subsides. So I'm avoiding any movements that might aggravate it. Fair enough, but still they are them who celebrate this. That's true. So I have to go all in. I don't want crazy side effects. Some guy that works says TRT is safest, but don't take deck. Okay. All right. Fitness skin. You are nowhere near ready to start using steroids. Based on what you wrote here, you do not have the requisite knowledge and haven't done the appropriate research to be going down this route. You need to go start researching. Okay. You are not even close. I do consultations on this topic, but they're $100 an hour. Benny pays for them. Benny's in the chat. He knows. So Benny can chime in. You're not in a position to do this. You do not have the requisite knowledge to be thinking about grabbing a syringe full of tests yet. Yeah, he would benefit from an intensive consultation on this, which is an hour of my time. And there are people who come through these chats who've done them specifically for that topic. But yes, I am currently on just TRT. As a beginner, is it best to build up the long head of the triceps before the lateral head, or just work off all of it? No, you don't need to. Why do you need to focus on the long head? Build your triceps, right? People spend way too much time worried about individual heads of muscles who are not going to step on a bodybuilding stage. Because he picked a rooftop where he could see the whole, it wouldn't be hard to look at that and realize the areas he would most likely be in. So he had a pretty good view of the whole little area. You know, I think everyone, Coach Charlie Kirk is the coach of fitness. Thank you, Dean. I appreciate the super brother. Thank you for the ongoing love and support. All right. Appreciate it. At least it wasn't like that was a whole nightmare too. Right? Yeah. Like he was there to do maximize damage in the Vegas one, unfortunately. In this day and age, you could use a drone to check roofs are clear before the event. Good point, David. These political influencers limit their talks inside and not on campus. I think we're hopefully going to see more of that. This is going to change that. That I think those venues are going to be seen that way. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. They should double down on talks on campus. But what do you mean is do them indoors instead of out in the open so much? I don't know what you're asking me about Texas. But yeah, use drones. Some people say I have, okay, fitness king, maybe so. But you're still not ready. You haven't done the basic research for you to be considering using any sort of anabolic. You're not ready. You need to do a lot more research. I mean, how's people their atmosphere? Texas is massive. What do you mean? How would I know? Texas is too big for me to know what everyone's like everywhere. Do you understand how big it is and what our population is? It's like 1,500 kilometers across. My region has 8 million people in the metropolitan area. Um, it would have been prevented with the glass in front of him. What do you mean? Well, true. That'll stop the non-professional. Bulletproof glass is not going to stop a professional marksman. They're gonna pop right through it. That's actually something snipers are trained specifically to do to be able to make hits on the other side of bulletproof glass. That's actually a thing. And not just military, even the FBI snipers are trained to do that. They have to be able to do it to even get the job. All right. I will cut soon because I want to have a more defined look, but definitely will lose a little muscle. Okay. If we double down on campus, we will have none left in a year. Oh. But I think you are right. An untrained person with that particular cartridge, pretty unlikely, unless he takes a second shot. That particular cartridge will most likely shatter and deflect on the first hit, but the second or the third is getting through. I'm pretty sure most of the time, though, that specific cartridge, standard bulletproof, will at least stop the first round. Or him, or how quick for me? Me, 2 seconds. Again, I have demonstrated on camera, so before anyone says I'm talking crap, you guys have seen me shoot. Jason knows the stuff with prevention measures. They needed better security. Like someone else said, drones, those rooftops got to be cleared. Those buildings have to be secured if they're going to do an event like that. Because if he was a professional, he would have been inside the building using a window. He would not have been on the rooftop. Because he would have been seeking in cover, better concealment. Thoughts on a hack squad and any tips for getting good calves? I think I have decent genetics, definitely not like your genetics for calves. Honestly, I feel like sleds and jumping, but sleds are great. Like if you really want calves, do sled work, do lots of squats. I like the hack squat machine. I don't like the barbell hack squat. I think the machine is great. M. Samatia was 5'10", 150. What? 5'10", 150 a year ago, bulk up to 270. Now I can bench. That's you got a little fat there. I've seen coaches little shooting videos. Yeah, he's not lying. I mean, I put up stuff too, even with handguns and me doing around bags inside of a palm-sized group in 14 seconds with a reload. I'm proficient. Like I wouldn't say that I'm like the greatest, but I'm proficient. So I've also done on camera the Glock 19, two mag dumps with a reload, all inside of the 10 ring in 14 seconds. So I filmed that before I put it up. I know people who are better than me, by the way. Yeah, I mean, again, lack of security. He was on a rooftop, managed to jump down and get away. And he got away carrying the rifle. They found it in the woods. They found it in the woods. So he ran off the scene while still carrying a full size bolt action rifle. One guy said you need to do like, Jason, what's your philosophical reason why lifters tend to leave conservative? Because of individualism versus more of a group social dynamic, right? People who are physically stronger tend to lend themselves to more individualism, which tends to be a right leaning um, ideological position. What is fat, like 25%? Well, yeah, 25, anything over 20% is fat. But this guy is talking about gaining 100, he gained 120 pounds just to bench 225. That's crazy. Um, I don't know. This chat is going crazy. My question is getting lost. What mistakes did you make your program do it? Overuse from pull-ups, most likely. Overuse from chin-ups. I was doing 100 chin-ups every day at over 200 pounds body weight, running an experiment, and that's when the problem started. So some impingement from supine grip, overuse of chin-ups. So I was doing 100 chin-ups a day every day for a month. Hey, Dingleberry, I don't know, because I see Fitness Andrew Tate said he tries to promote get healthy to the gym, get strong. I am not a fan of Tate. I am not a fan of Tate at all. All right. I wonder if the shooter planned on being able to make it out alive. He tried to get away. He did get away. So he was planning on trying to get out. He went back home and was turned in. I wonder what was on his mind, right? Well, crazy stuff is on his mind. Been having much success, Abby says, with double progression. Thoughts on the routine for I like double progression. I like double progression more than the starting strength type programming you were doing, Abby. I don't like that sort of programming, the other type, where it's a static number based on no. But as far as a double progression, I think it can work pretty dang good. I need BMI scan. How do I get one? You need to go to a DEXA scan clinic. They're about $100 what's the highest body fat someone should never exceed for optimal health? As a man, you shouldn't go over 20%. Addressing Kirk's situation. I'm not interested in anything Tate has to say. I'm really not interested in anything Andrew Tate has to say personally. You know, says me. I don't like him, don't care for him, and he needs to just come out the closet. Hey, Saul, you're asking me to go back in time and tell you what my mindset was when I was doing a lot of more extreme training. I was doing really, really extreme hardcore training. That was what I was doing. Go back and look at what my training looked like at that time. Pushing heavy calories, doing all the way, like up to 6 day a week training, maxing every day. I went too far. At this point, this is why I promote fatigue management on everything. I was running a phase where I'm like, I just went all in, did no cardio, just lifting. This was quite a few years back, but I also was squatting 600 pounds during that time period at one point. Glad you're doing more lives now. Yep. Rubber iron plates for home gym combination would be good. I mean, I use steel plates. I don't use iron. I use steel plates. I have calibrated steel plates. And then I have rubberized training plates that are also very accurate. So the Rogue ones. But I mean, honestly, if I were to do it all again and not care about calibrated plates and all that, I did that so people couldn't accuse me of lifting fake weights, which they did anyways. Yeah, I really thought if I just spend extra money, they won't be able to accuse me because I have calibrated plates. Oh, boy, that was real stupid of me. I would just go with regular old iron plates. There's literally a piece of tape. Well, I mean, Andrew Tate, you look at things he's written. Look at things he's written. Remember when he wrote a whole explanation of why any man who kisses women is gay? He wrote a whole thing explaining why any man who kisses a woman is gay. Ever. The dude is deep, deep in the closet, and he is resentful of women because of it. That's my take on Tate. Plato instead some cheap social joke. What? They finally caught him. Yeah, Lucius, they caught him. We've got pictures. We know a bit about his MO. You're not going to look like Kevin Levrone. I can tell you what Kevin Levrone was known for. Kevin Levrone was known for his insane genetics and his extreme lazy, one of the laziest bodybuilders in the gym. He is arguably known for being probably the laziest Olympia contender of all time in recorded history. And to the point where Dorian Yates even called him out and said, with his genetics, if he wasn't so lazy, he would have beat me. He's like, if he had just trained decently hard and wasn't just completely lazy, there's no way I could have beat him. Dorian Yates said that. He said, but he was just so lazy. He only worked out 9 months a year while training for the Olympia. The guy took 12 weeks off straight every year and didn't go to the gym or lift weights. He was literally the laziest Olympia contender in recorded history. That's what Levrone is known for, just being so lazy, yet being such a genetic freak that he took second place in the Olympia in spite of literally being probably one of the laziest people to be in the gym. Goes to show you what genetics and drugs can do. He only worked out 9 months a year while competing in the Mr. Olympia. Admittedly, and he admitted to it. So, boring questions with thoughts on wrist wraps for the overhead press. I guess it depends on if you need them. Depends on what grip you're using. All right, depends on what grip you're using. Are you doing a full thumb grip, or are you trying to do them as a push press? If you're going to do push presses, I might lean away from it, especially if you're going to be cocked back. But if you're going to do a full wrist stack and you're going to do a full thumb over, you may want to consider wrist wraps for the press. That brush. Yeah, his genetics carried him, Kevin. I mean, the dude's genetics were insane. And it's like Dorian Yates said, had he not been so lazy, if he had just put in an honest, regular effort, like he would have been Mr. Olympia. So you're not going to look like him. It's all genetics. Yeah. He's strong, but the roids and his genetics let him be. Exactly. Those Olympic guys are all drugs and jokes. They don't even know how to train hard. And that's true in many cases. Adam says, what do you think? Belt squats or front squats should be better for overall athleticism, lower body mass for a person whose injury history precludes them from doing squats and deads? Since you said overall athleticism, the front squat, hands down. This is not even close. Not even close, bros. As far as the lower body development, we could argue back and forth on that one. Because you said athleticism, you can't compete with the front squat with any machine for that. Thinking of doing push presses again. Haven't heard you talk about them anymore. Is my squat falling behind and my bench is strong? Should I switch over from strict? If you want to. I thought Flex Wheeler was known for, I mean, he had good, they weren't probably as good as Levrone. How do you think? I don't know. I'm not even that worried at this point. I'm just going to keep training and keep getting fitter and recompositioning and work on my fitness and run times and my lifting and let it land where it lands. Did you see the Hellfire missile bounce off that UFO? No, I'd never heard of this in my life. I don't even know where I would have seen this. I didn't see anything in my news feed anywhere. Have you seen the trend guys are resorting to muscle suits to look big and oh my God. Ridiculous. Why do you need that to look big? I do a 5K 3 times a week. Why do you need that to look big in a t-shirt? Guys, just get big. Just get big, dudes. It's not that complicated. I'm not even that big. At least I look like I lift in a shirt, right? Come on, guys. Y'all serious? Right? I look like you lift in shorts, too. Okay. Twin trends, I don't think they're so good. What are you asking about them? Have you ever had periods of skipping training in like the last 5 to 10 years? Or you? I mean, I've had some situations where I was forced to take mostly a week off, but it wasn't necessarily by choice. Like, so for example, we didn't have power for miles in any direction after that last hurricane for 6 days, and it was over 100 degrees. I didn't do much training during that week. I'm gonna be honest, because it was so sweltering hot, and then had to train there was no lights at night, no street lights, nothing. I just came and did really light pump work with light dumbbells and stuff, like 35-pound, 30-pound dumbbells and things, and some reverse hypers that week. So I didn't really train. Right? It was over 100 degrees every day. Abby says, what is a bigger deterrent to being bullied, getting big or getting fit being big? And shutting bullies down. Right? You just fight them. Once you hit back, they don't want to mess with you. In my experience as a child, keep in mind I was deaf as a child and talked funny, and I have a funny name. I had to learn to fight. I also find the first time you break a pencil off in one of their leg, they don't want anything to do with you again. So 2 years ago I was 160 pounds, 6'2". Now I'm 240, and lift numbers I told you. How much else do you think I have as a natural? No, that's not. That ladder is not how it works. You're taller. No, go get a DEXA scan. I've never said that ladder. You didn't get that from me. You got that somewhere else. Heningo says, broke my shoulder 12 years ago doing weighted dips. You've been keeping me injury free ever since. Keep it up, coach. Awesome. Glad to hear you've been staying injury free, brother. So keep it going. Lucia, being a Scrum Master project manager for data, the brain marathon daily for me, then coming back home to news like that. What happened to Charlie in the gym after? You go to the gym after. Here's the thing. The gym is so therapeutic, right? The gym is so therapeutic. Sometimes that's what you need. You get under that barbell and all the cares of the world go away. Once you get that 500 pounds in your hands or on your back, everything else just ceases to exist. Your brain goes quiet for just a little bit. It's a beautiful thing. Look at fat-free mass in it. I see that's reasonable. I sometimes get pulled away from training or force myself in other interests. Okay. You're over here talking about gear and you take time off from training because of other interests sometimes? No. You have no business. You're not dedicated enough to be talking about using steroids. Just stop. Dar says, Jason, I'm going to be on the road to a 315 bench. My upper body's really strong, so now I'm confident I can get it in under a year. There you go. Do you believe in stretching? No. Great last workout. Saw you had tricep work to protect shoulders. Yep. And we know that why that is too. It has to do with bar path. Strong triceps will protect your shoulders more when heavy benching due to the change in bar path, due to strength. Lucia says, "Thank you, Jason. I need to hear that. I let stress get the best of me." And we all do, But the barbell itself is a phenomenal therapeutic and stress relieving tool. Right? And especially if you learn to use it that way, because your brain can go quiet and you can focus on the training for just a little while. You can let the other stuff go. You can go into that place of zen. For me, like, I'm not angry. Like, people will see me repping 500 or whatever on the deadlift, and I'm just calm. Again, it's a place of zen. All right. Think of getting on gear because of nursing and your coat. I find the same with running. Running can be too. Yeah, that runner's high because you guys know I run too. I usually get around that 20-minute mark, David. Around the 20-minute mark when I'm running, I usually kind of get that runner's high too. It's just like you go into that relaxed state. As someone who's a former drinker, it's a mild euphoria, like having a drink or two. It's very similar, that runner's high. I would describe it as very similar. Just that bit of unwinding, which is nice, because I plan on staying sober. I'm over 6.5 years, and we plan on staying that way. Arnold says, thoughts on the 500 squat plus 5-minute miles of long-term goal on the same day as attempted. Man, I would jokingly almost said I'd love to reach for that, but I don't see myself the 5-minute mile. That's just so crazy. I mean, I hit a 500 squat on camera in January, but because I'm at a lighter weight than when I used to squat more, and I did that here at 48. That 5-minute mile, though. Yeah, I have guitars there. My Gibson Les Paul and my Fender American Strat. I agree, hate the first 10 to 15 minutes, and after that, it's great. Yeah, sometimes that first 10 minutes, you're just like, one can get involved a lot with instruments there. Your Monday session goes, no, it doesn't. You go get your training done. I train in the morning. We don't skip training. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. All right, back over. Lucia says, I hate alcohol. Sadly, my office in the kitchen area, we literally have an entire freaking bar with so much alcohol. My boss one day literally comes to my desk at 9 a.m. and hands me a beer. Yeah, that's not cool. Hard rock and blues. Does running affect your training? No. I mean, dude, I squat and deadlift 3 days a week, and I run 3 days a week. So I do them on alternating days. Does running affect your training? Yeah, I'm good. Broad shoulders, broad question, but do you think bench press or weighted dips are safer for the shoulders long term for most people? I think they're both safe if done correctly with good fatigue management and correct form. I think they're both very safe for your shoulders. I don't think it's an either or. I try to leave the office early and work a bit from home to avoid the after work drinks. Yeah, I've had those type of jobs before. I've had them where they're paying for it too. Companies paying for it. In the past, are you talking about current? No, I don't. I've not run more than 5 miles. 5.5 miles is the most I've run this year at all. I usually do a 5K, which is just 3.1 miles. So I usually do a 5K my non-lifting days, so my other 3 days, because I squat, bench, and deadlift 3 days a week. But I mean, I do rep work with 500 on the deadlift every workout, 500 plus. But then I go run the next morning. While I'm still fasted, during my fasted window, I go hit a 5K. Yes, I train and run fasted every day. I do intermittent fasting. The literary meetings piled up. We have to manage and do analytics. People are so dumb. Yeah. Jason, about push press, do you feel like it takes away from triceps? I feel like it could take away from upper chest. I don't know that. No, not necessarily. I wasn't weight training when I ran before. I only started running again this year. I've been doing other cardio. I only started running again in the last 2-3 months. What's the furthest I've ran? Like 30 miles. That's been a lifetime ago, though. Would you ever consider taking up cycling? I don't know how to answer that. I don't really know what cycling is. I know there's a few sports involving cycling. Probably not. I do have a vestibular disorder, so it's probably not a particularly safe hobby for me. I don't see myself really, probably not doing that, dude. Right? I don't have medically a sense of balance. So probably not. And I don't mean, oh, you could just go do balance training. It's like telling a blind person they could just go do some vision training. No, the organs are damaged. So I don't have a sense of balance. No, in one shot, big deal. Let me double check this. Let me see if this guy's. Yeah, he didn't get created today, just making sure. Because you think you can currently lift the weight on your t-shirt? I don't know. Well, on a deadlift, maybe. It looks like 10, 25 kilo plates. Yeah, I think I could. I would like to get a Swift bike. What does that mean? I didn't know bikes come in different speeds, so I don't know what that means. So you could have just wrote, I want to get a Fleet Flop blue and blobbing. Oh, okay. All right. All right. It's an indoor bike. Okay, thank you. Still doesn't tell me anything particular. It's a specific brand of indoor bikes. Gotcha. All right. A lot of times people drop stuff on me and I have no idea what they're talking about. Like this one guy asked me, what are your thoughts on the current state of crypto? And I'm like, I think my knowledge of crypto would be bleep, blop, flubin, flop, Dogecoin. I have a Bitcoin wallet that some of my clients pay me through. That's my entire knowledge of crypto. It's like fake money that people can send you and it goes into your thing and then you transfer it to your bank account. And it turns into money when you deposit it. Whereas in everyone, I knew all this stuff about ballistic coefficients and other stuff. So you actually know about these topics. I gave you guys my summary, my entire expert knowledge on crypto. So I have a Bitcoin wallet that clients can send me money to, and I have to send them the code. And sometimes it makes me do this backup stuff, and I have codes I have to do back and forth. And sometimes it pisses me off, but then it puts money in my bank account. Right? So we're not all experts in everything. So she said, I don't know anything about bikes. I don't ride bikes. I have a vestibular disorder. I have a desk bike I ride to do my streams on. How do you like cycling versus running? Well, considering that I have a vestibular disorder, I don't want to break my neck flipping a bike over trying to ride it down the street. So I'm going to go with running. No, I do the bike indoors because I can do it inside no matter the weather. I can sit down and I can do it live with all my devices, and I make way better money, and I can stream multiple devices. Like I'm streaming on every platform right now. I'm not just on the tubes. I have multiple monetized streams going all at once on my computer. So, do you have much exposure to equities? I don't even know what that means. All right, you see where you guys are going. You guys ask me stuff that I clearly know nothing about, and I'm going to look at you and say, I think that's like an economic thing or something. It's about money and investments. I've heard that term before by people who invest in the stock market talk about it in vague passing. But we could have a detailed discussion on direct impingement versus gas-driven ARs, and we could go into vast detail on that. I could discuss specifics of pentatonic scales versus blues scales, and we could talk about arpeggios and music theory. I could talk to you about lifting weights. See what I mean? We don't know what we don't know. Okay. So you might as well just be speaking a foreign language. Right? Well, no, you have bank accounts, right? Bank account. So we have bank accounts, right? How good can you ever? So. I don't know, Mark. Can you? Most people are better off buying. So again, you guys are. I feel like people just want me to sound really stupid, so you guys bring up economic stuff, knowing that I'm a complete blithering moron on the topic. I think it's done on purpose, just to make me sound stupid. So because you guys know that I have no knowledge of it. So, right. Just like if I were to discuss ballistic coefficients with you guys, you're going to sound real dumb real quick. Yeah. I don't even know what you wrote, David. You might as well just have written that in a foreign language. So, all right, next. But this has pretty much died down. Oh. So since we don't have much other views going in here, and it will probably get a bunch after the fact, we're going to wind these down. Let me shut down the Facebook. All right. All right, guys. So we're done. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you next time.